Hello, everybody. Doublepulse here, and we got another guy here.
Yeah, Thunder chilling here, and we're gonna talk about a topic.
Sounds like
Huh?
nothing. Just say chilling here, drinking a Corona. All right.
No, chilling here, drinking a Baja Blast Mountain Dew, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about why 30 FPS looks better on console than PC.
I don't know. Sometimes it's true, and then sometimes it's not. Well, there's times where 30 FPS on a PC and actually does look better on a console, but then there's times where 30 FPS on the console kind of looks better. Now, there's many things we have to talk about. First thing we got to talk about is the fact that you are. How far is the screen you're looking at? Because, like when you're at a computer, you're mostly about 2 feet away, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Maybe 2 feet away, and then maybe at your. I don't even know if it's 2 feet. I think it's even closer. But then when you're at a console on a big TV,
Well, to give you an idea how big my TV is only 26 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And my monitor that I'm looking at is only 23 inches.
Yeah. So, I guess, yeah, that's true. And I don't know if monitors are any different than the way the...
I have mine both set to HDMI cables.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's really iffy. I mean, I could see if it's not an HD TV, okay, that could be an issue.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different topic. That's really...
yeah. So it seems like for the longest time, the standard for console games has always been 30 FPS. I mean, shit. Sometimes the games don't even hit 30 FPS. But you would think it should be 60, especially...
Yeah, especially with PS4 next gen.
Yeah.
You would think 60 FPS.
You want to get 60, and I feel like it's kind of a little shame that you pay $400 for this next gen console and you don't get an experience that is just as good in terms of performance on the PC. That's not to say that the PS4 games perform badly, but obviously when you compare them to the PC, if the PC port is done extremely well, or if it's just worked from the ground up, like Grand Theft Auto, for instance, on PC you can run that game at 60, while the PS4 looks like it's stuttering even at 30. So I opened up an article. I actually got a couple articles because I don't know the answer to this. People talking about how if you're working on a controller, it's obviously different. You have less precision than a mouse and keyboard, and there's kind of a mix of factors. So here's the first article. It says, the reason PC games run at 60 FPS and the consoles are often 30. First off, it's not always true. Most people's PCs probably won't run the new games at 60, but usually when we're talking about PC games, we're talking about high-end gaming PCs. The reason these PCs run most new games at 60 FPS is because those games were designed with the lower specs in mind. Your computer far outperforms what the developers were expecting you to have. The reason why most console games are 30 FPS is because developers know what specs you are going to have, so they can target the development at those specs. If you choose to target 30 FPS, if they choose to target FPS, they can make sure they have better graphics than if they're targeted at 60 FPS. If everyone had the same PC hardware, chances are most games would be 30 FPS on PC as well. Yeah, so it goes on to say that they're only more PC, they're lower specs in mind. You can build gaming console with $4,000 worth of hardware. Would still likely target 30 FPS. So it seems like that what this is saying is that developers want to target 30, and they overachieve on the PC.
See, I could see that being for the PS3 and Xbox 360. Mm-hmm. That would be the one that would target 30. And you would think the PC another thing is too. It really depends on your CPU, and your graphics card and your upload speed. If you're going to stream and want to stream at the best, at least 60 frames per second. But another thing you could throw in there, the PS4, if you set it almost side by side with the computer, with the PC and that, you could tell there's difference depending on what games you play.
Of course.
But some games could be better on PC, and then some other games can be really good on the console.
Well, okay, here's where it kind of irritates me. But when I was reading this article, they say I get the point where when they're talking about developers know this is what irritates me. The reason most console games are 30 FPS is because developers know what specs you're going to have, so they can target those at those specs. Won't you think that if they know what specs the PS4 and Xbox One are going to have, you would think that they would try to get the most performance before they put the graphics out there? Because it seems like the debate here talks about graphics like, oh yeah, I would much rather have better, prettier graphics at 30 FPS than 60 FPS, yet lower graphics. I don't know. What do you think about that?
My opinion is I think the PS4 should have waited, and Xbox One should have waited another year.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody pushed it.
Yeah, I agree, actually.
To get pushed out now. If they would have waited and had it expand where you could play the game at any FPS you wanted, that's how I would see a console, next-gen console would be. If you wanted to play at 30, you could set it to 30. If you want to play at 40, you could set it to 40. If you want to play at 60, set it to 60.
You would think. I don't know.
I guess
there might be technical limitations.
We won't. Yeah, we probably won't see that in a console. But with the PC, it can vary depending on how powerful your PC is, depending on your CPU and graphics card.
What really bugs me about it is the fact that the PS4 and the Xbox One are actually using closer to the PC architecture. So the fact that they can't reach it just is mind-boggling. Like, I wish console games had more options. And then we're probably going to get people in the comments if people watch this video like, oh, talking about the whole, console war stuff. But
alright, before you go any further, if there's any console war stuff, who cares? It's just about the games. I mean, I want to get an Xbox One eventually. He wants to get an Xbox One maybe eventually. And we're trying to get better PCs so we can actually experiment more.
Okay.
So
we answered that first question. We answered that the reason why, whether this article or this this post that somebody made is as accurate as it can, that's, I guess, the general answer that people often go for. But now on to the point that I guess what might be the title of this video is, why is it that it seems like 30 FPS is smoother on the console than the PC? Because, sure, there's times where that's the opposite. Like, I think Xbob was talking about how GTA 5 even at 30 ran above better, and maybe GTA 5 is not running at 30 on the PS4 as it seems to be, but it just doesn't. Honestly, when I looked at it comparing to the PC version, even when I was playing the PC version, it was slightly. I've been looking at it, even at 30, it seems smoother. But the guy said he's not entirely wrong. They're talking about input devices, like when you have a mouse and keyboard. They respond pretty quickly, so that's another device.
Now, here's a question. In FPS, would you rather? This is kind of off topic, but who would win? You think a guy with a controller, or a guy on a mouse and keyboard that's been playing on mouse and keyboard since pretty much shooters came out? You would probably think the PC. I would
honestly have to say the mouse and keyboard. Like, one thing he's saying here, aside from what I'm about to say here, it's just they have immediate movement when you press keys, or better tracking with the accuracy with the mouse. So that makes sense. And they're more sensitive to the frame rate because it will lag behind when you're supposed to know when the input's supposed to happen. Not to mention, you have your entire hand, your entire arm to move the mouse whatever you want. With a controller, though, the big issue with the controller is you're only limited to what what the controller can put out. Like your finger might move or whatever. You might have to move smaller, or you might have to move less frequently. I hope you kind of see what I'm trying to say, like with your thumb.
Yeah.
Well, like, I don't know. I played shooters on the PS. Like, I played shooters both on PC and on console.
Yeah, I suck with shooters on PC because I have been playing it on the console since.
For me, it's the opposite.
When I got the PS3, and
mm-hmm.
we were playing Fistful of Frags earlier, and
yeah.
I kind of rage quit because reaction time is slower.
True.
Compared to what I could be on a controller. But if I had to face somebody that was on a PC and I'm on a controller, chances are he's going to beat me more than I can beat him.
Chances are, yeah. If you're not used to what you're using, that's going to be part of the problem. But that also goes into saying that performance does matter. I think one of the best things about playing some games on a console is your performance on the console is most likely going to be the same. So, for instance, you guys are most going to be at the same playing level, because if a guy's running the game, say he's playing a shooter at 60 FPS while somebody else on PC is playing at 30 or 40 in unstable frame rate, that's going to affect his performance so much. Like, even 30. When you have double the frames, things will move a lot more smoother. You can probably react a lot quicker. It doesn't seem like much, but it does make like a subtle difference. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because I've had a game on a console where
mm-hmm.
I lagged. I don't know if it was internet or a frame rate issue, but he would get the trigger before I would, and I would die. Let's say. Now with PC, that's another story, because some games that don't have that's another thing. Some games that you play, that like an FPS shooter, don't have an ADS on most of them. Well, some of them that I've played. So
the one thing that irritates me is when people throw the excuse that the reason why they make their games 30 FPS on PC is the fact that it's for cinematic purposes. If anybody makes that excuse, in my book, I'm sorry. That means they have either not been able to optimize it properly, whether it's for console or PC. If you're running,
I think why they set it to 30 FPS on PC, they want to have, depending on your PC, they want to see if everybody can run it.
Yeah,
you would think, but
no, I see that.
Yeah, but obviously that's not the case, because it really, if you're a streamer, you want it at least 60 FPS. And you don't want it to lag, and it also really depends on the upload speed as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends on your internet as well, and all that, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out how to say this. But do you think the console has the option to go 60 FPS if they really forced it to happen? Or do you not see it 60 at all?